Hello, and welcome back to Not Here to Fix You, the podcast where we talk about topics like healing, emotions, food, and everything in between. I'm your co host, Amanda, a food freedom and guilt recovery coach. I help women to overcome guilt and shame that they feel with their eating habits and enjoy food without a diet. And with me today is my co host, Lazina.
Hi, I'm Lazina. I'm the co-host. And and my area of expertise is relationship repair. I enjoy have helping people have the tools so that they can not only repair their relationship with themselves, but with others as well as their food and their habits. So we're not here to fix you, we're here to feel with you. So we're gonna dive in. Today, our topic is when guilt turns into hiding, slowing down the shame before the spiral disconnects us. And this is a topic that's very close to my heart because I've had um, I've had a lot of lessons from relationships of how I showed up and how shame and guilt played a part in that. So I think today I'm excited to, kind of see where that goes. What about you, Amanda?
I am. This is a good topic. And yeah, this is totally in your wheelhouse. So I am very curious today to hear about your experiences and everything you learned. And yeah, we can go back and forth, but I am curious because you said you learned a lot through all the
Mhm.
relationships you've had, and you learned a lot about yourself through that. And I think we all do. But yeah, take it away and give us your input on what you've learned so far.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is when it came to my daughter Tasia. When everything happened, I as a mom felt so guilty and so ashamed of what happened in our family. I was like, they And I think at times I made what I felt guilt what I when I felt guilt, I feeling made that mean I was ashamed. I didn't know how to differentiate the two. So by not knowing how to differentiate the two, I was parenting her from that space of I need something from you. So I'm ashamed that this thing happened. I'm ashamed that I allowed this tragedy to happen in our family. I blamed myself and I felt so guilty because I could remember most sorry, one second. It's a sneeze that doesn't need to come out right now. Whew.
That's okay, you can
Uh,
sneeze. Go ahead.
my baby cough and my baby sneezes. Yeah, it was thinking back about it, I was very distraught about how everything happened. I wanted to show the perfect family. I wanted the Facebook pictures to look like, oh, we got the house, we have the marriage, we have the best friends and all that, but behind the doors, it wasn't that case. I didn't know that I was an avoidant, and I didn't know that my ex-husband was an oh gosh, I don't necessarily want to use anybody in particular as an example, but there are exes that I've had that were anxious and I was the avoidant. And at the time especially when it comes to my relationship with my children, I was parenting based on what I thought they needed, not and essentially that was what I needed. So when I'm looking for my daughter for connection and I'm trying to say, "Oh, let's have a conversation, let's go deep, let's talk, let's resolve this." And she wasn't ready for that. I made that mean that I was bad. I was a bad mom. So that was the energy that I was coming with. I'm a bad mom. I'm not good enough and she can't see what I'm doing. And then I'm letting the guilt of what I'm carrying and the feeling responsible for how life turned out be the factor behind my parenting instead of just meeting her where she is and developing the relationship in that way. And, being able to switch that was a hard process, but I was able to do it. I also recognized it in romantic relationships. When my partner was reaching for love from me, I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel worthy, and I would pull away because I was feeling guilty of just being who I am. Maybe I have a reaction. I have a trigger and I have the same behavior pattern. If I'm not feeling heard, I'm gonna get angry. And then I get angry, we have an argument. We have an argument, then we come back and I apologize, but now I'm overly apologizing because I feel responsible. I feel I'm riddled with guilt and shame. And that energy isn't going to be able to be received well when the other person also needs reassurance, when they need to see change behavior. They're not going to see change behaviors because my pattern is still the same. An event happened, I feel guilt. I made that mean that I'm bad. Instead of just isolating, like, I'm not proud of this, but that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. I can choose to do it differently. I wasn't going beyond the shame or any of that. And that's what stops the connection because one person is reaching for love and the other one is pulling away. And that pulling away doesn't mean that I didn't care. It meant like I just didn't know what was happening to me. So being able to name it helped a lot. Being able to sit with it and like, okay, what is it that I need right now in this moment? And once I give myself what I needed, then everything becomes clearer. I'm no longer operating from that shame. So that's kind of like the gist of it at the beginning part. But please share anything that you feel that connects right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember when I came to you, I mean, I started off with trying to understand my emotions, right? So I didn't have a lot of bandwidth around understanding emotions and the depth of it. But for people who are listening and who are like, what is this avoidant and anxious? Like we're talking about
Yeah.
attachment styles.
Yeah.
So I think there are three, if I remember correctly. There's anxious, avoidant, secure. Oh, and then there's
This
disorganized.
disorganized, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there are four. Sorry, not three. But yeah, I think when you take the test, you get a clearer idea of what you are. And then
Mhm.
for me, when I took it, I came out as avoidant as well. And then it started making a lot of sense as to how this pattern has prevailed over different relationships, whether it's friendship, romantic, or otherwise. But I also realized that you can actually be another type. So there in one or two friendships, I remember that even though I'm an avoidant, I was more of an anxious one in that friendship because I was trying to like cling to the friendship
Yeah.
even if things weren't going great. And I know we have this podcast where we say we're not here to fix people. And a lot of that stemmed from the fact that I think I tried to fix a lot of things and realized I can't really do that.
Mm-hmm.
So my anxious tendencies would crop up in those friendships where I was trying to cling to it. It
Yeah.
was not good for me. It was obviously not good for the other person, but I just thought that I needed to cling and be loyal. And, I had ideas about loyalty, like ride
Yeah.
or die. And I mean, now when I look back at it, I think I don't recommend ride or die. I think you need to release it and see whether you're actually in alignment and connection with the person. Don't just have blind loyalty.
Yeah.
But it really showed me a lot about who I am as a person as well, because I really thought I'm avoidant. So I have these patterns where I do shut down. Like if I feel like I'm not in connection with someone or I feel offended, my first reaction is obviously to pull away and shut down. So the disconnection comes in there, and that's obviously on me, not on them. But
Right.
I learned through this process that, yeah, you feel guilty that you kind of like, I feel guilty that I'm shutting this person out. But then
Yeah.
I also need to sit with what I'm feeling so that I can communicate with this other person so that they can actually meet me where I'm at. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that guilt does come in because I don't want to push them out, but I also don't want them in at that moment.
Yeah.
It's too overwhelming as an avoidant for me.
Yeah.
But I think with anxious, because I've been a bit anxious in some, I can see that there I want to say literally I was overperforming. And I had a friend, because I shared this with her. I was going through something with another friend, and I shared this with a friend of mine, and she was like, Amanda, you do too much emotional labor. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. I didn't even know what that was. And I always thought of that in terms of a romantic relationship because
Yeah.
that term is thrown around so much in romantic relationships. I didn't realize that you can even do that in a friendship. So I was
All
like,
relationships, yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, thank you for pointing that out. So it's interesting to have these conversations with, share with your friends because sometimes they can see things you don't see.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I don't know whether it's necessarily that all, if you have an anxious tendency, do you do more emotional labor? Like, I'm curious about that. And do you do less if you're an avoidant? Like, that's something that made me think about this later on.
Yeah.
But I feel like, from my experience, maybe because I think you delegate the responsibility of like taking on the emotional load to the anxious one, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm going to be nice and stoic, and you're going to come here and do all of.
Yeah.
So I think I've been on both sides. So I can understand how it feels.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is tricky and complicated. But yeah,
Yeah. It's
that's been my experience so far.
Yeah. And the thing is, like when it comes to the avoidant, for example, though those are very good points that you made. When it comes to whatever that is, whether you're on the anxious or the avoidant side or the disorganized side, there's something that happened that when I am in my anxious, I mean my avoidant part, that's where I'm feeling the most guilt. I
Mhm.
am, and if I approach that person that I'm in relationship with, again, friends or family, doesn't necessarily have to be just emotional relationship. When I'm in relationship with that person, I'm saying you are responsible for how I feel, or you're responsible to make me feel better. And with that energy, it causes so much disconnection. And that's because I'm feeling ashamed. I'm feeling guilty. And I need you to forgive me, or I need you to do something to validate what I'm feeling. And that there's no way to be in connection with that. Because if the other person needs reassurance or they need to feel heard themselves, we are now robbing each other of the opportunity to really connect. And in the midst of it, my shame is telling me I'm not good enough. And I can also be an anxious person depending on the relationship that I value. I'm going to try to tell him, see how much I care, see, like, look at all of the things that I'm doing so to make this relationship work. But that's also coming from my not feeling good enough, my not believing that I'm worthy, my not believing that I matter in a relationship and I can be whoever I am and still have a healthy relationship with the person. Um, but it's when it comes to having that relationship with multiple people, I have one child who was an avoidant, another who is a secure, another that's anxious. So I get to learn and immerse
Mhm.
myself in all of the experiences. And not to make this more about anxious and avoidant, it's just that that's how we sabotage. We either go
Yeah.
into flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. And in those moments, our nervous system is saying, I'm not safe. So there's so many layers to it. I can say that I'm an avoidant person, because I need space whenever something happens so that I can make sure that I'm not having negative self-talk. I'm not shaming myself. I'm not guilting myself. I'm actually processing what it is that my emotional needs are before I go back to the person. But when we do it subconsciously, um, it's a pushing that relationship away. Oh, I don't need to talk to you right now. I'm gonna go. And then 3 days later, I've regulated my emotion. Now I'm coming back. The damage was already done. Now that anxious person felt abandoned. They didn't feel heard. They don't know what's gonna happen. They don't know if you're gonna come back. And that's a heavy weight for them to carry as well. So now when we do come back together, how do we express to each other that I was feeling guilty or I was feeling ashamed or didn't feel good enough when you said XYZ. And then how does that person who hears that hear it from this is just I'm just sharing my experience with you and I want you to see how I processed it, but it doesn't mean that I'm blaming you or I'm shaming you. I want to do it differently. And I think that in itself is a difficult thing to do because we have to really learn how each other's behavior. no matter what, the behaviors and the triggers are still going to be the same. It's how we internalize it. So I like to, whenever I'm in relationship with people, I've always like to ask, how do you behave when you're angry, sad, and overwhelmed? Because those are the things that gets us triggered the most, whether we're at work, whether we're at home, anywhere, like out in a grocery store, it gets triggered. So how do you behave in that way, and what's the support that you need? Meaning that I'm here along for the ride with you, and I'm choosing not to do it like I did before where you would be on, I would have gotten out of the vehicle and left, and you would be going to the store by yourself. And we have this big disconnection for 3 days. In the meantime, I'm sitting there in my bed, shaming myself, like just like I'm never gonna get it right. I'm always gonna be alone. I'm reinforcing everything my nervous system is feeling. I'm not reparenting. I'm not looking to see that's, a little bit of self-abandonment too. Maybe I'm self-abandoning too much, but I'm choosing to self-abandon. I'm making it the other person is making me self-abandon rather than I'm not speaking up what my needs are. I'm not sharing with you what I'm going through. And to do that with multiple people, it really needs to be emotional safety. You need to have a conversation. But we're not going to be able to do that all the time. We're not going to be able to sit down and have these deep conversations with our peers or, anywhere really. So how do we as an individual take the time to understand what our needs are and healthily communicate that? I'm feeling ashamed right now and I'm feeling guilty. I know this is not about you and I just need a few moments. I don't know. I promise I'll come back to you tomorrow. I'll check in and let you know where I'm at if I haven't processed it. Or if there's enough emotional safety, can you help me process this without making it about you? And when I say about the person, you know how you can get derailed. You're talking to someone and they hear blame because you're just trying to speak your truth and they hear it as blame. And it's like now we're stuck in the defending and that's not what I meant and this is how I meant it. And we're not going past towards the need.
I want to say that, yeah, that's a good point that you made because I was actually thinking that a lot of us don't. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. Like, I didn't really know what attachment style was. I mean, I heard it and I thought it was like, you take another one of those tests and they tell you your personality or whatever. Like, I didn't know what it was, but I think a lot of us don't even know what it is. So we don't have the language to communicate our needs. Maybe we didn't grow up with communicating emotional needs, right? Especially
Yeah.
in Indian households, emotions are the last thing that people ever care about. It's
Yeah.
all achievement based and, get it right and gotta fix it. And yeah, we grew up with those kinds of expectations. So emotions are the last thing. So I think the thing is, a lot of us don't have the language or the communication skills to actually sit and have these discussions with people we care about. And it's not because we don't want to do it, it's because we can't. And on some level, it takes a lot of vulnerability to sit there and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm feeling like this, and this is what comes up for me, not blaming you, but when you do this, this is how I feel. It's not about, because you're the problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
what reaction comes from within me when this happens to me.
Yeah.
But I think very often a lot of us don't have the emotional bandwidth or even the space to accept that because as soon as you say that to someone, like, let's just say, in fact, no, let's just say I have actually said that to someone like in the past. I was like, so this is something that I didn't like. And immediately they got defensive and then they were like, but you did this. And it's like, even if you want to share, you don't know whether you should because that reaction did not sit well with me. And then I had like another outburst. So I think a lot of people don't have the language or the capacity to hold space to listen to any of this. I think that's the main like problem. And we
Yeah.
always focus, like you said, we focus on ourselves as well, right? Like as an avoidance. If someone came in there and made me responsible for how they felt, yeah, I am gonna feel guilty, but there's a part of me thinking, So just because I don't, I'm like, and let's just say maybe for anxious people, because I've noticed the trend, they tend to like reassurance and compliments,
Yeah.
and you've got to give them that stuff. But for an avoidant, that's a bit, I don't want to say difficult, but that doesn't come easy to us. So
Yeah.
if we show love and we're in connection with you, we'll do things for you. We'll try and make your life easier. We'll find more practical ways that you can go about your day without breaking a sweat. But then when you come to me and you say, "Oh, you're not giving me this, 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 this," and I'm just thinking, but what about all these things that I did?
Hmm.
And then immediately, I don't want to listen to your complaints. I'm feeling underappreciated and I'm feeling ashamed and guilt. And you're feeling that as well. So
Yeah.
neither one of us is trying to understand the other. We're
Yeah.
just thinking, wow, she's ungrateful, or I'm ungrateful, or he's ungrateful. So I
Yeah.
think we don't have like the capacity, the bandwidth, or even the space to sit with any of this. And I
Yeah.
think that's something we need to learn.
Yeah. And those are very good points too. The two things that I wanna say there. We can't we're not gonna be able to receive the same way. How I love is a reflection of how I want to receive love. But that doesn't mean that the way someone else love isn't appreciated too. I have to learn to do that. So when I'm in
Mhm.
guilt and I'm in shame, I've just now, and especially in the way you describe that conversation, every both of us are now in shame and guilt, and we can't receive. It's like you're saying, but look at all of these things, all of these things I've done. And this person is saying, but these are all the things you're not doing. That's how this person is receiving it. This is how this person is giving it. We're going to be speaking different languages. We need to take the time to learn what that means to each other. What does anxiety mean to you? What does gratitude mean to you? Because we all experience these things differently. So we are going to go around and say, we want our needs to be met exactly how we meet it, and everybody is responsible for it. And if they can't, I'm going to make that mean that I'm not good enough and I'm ashamed of myself. I'm not a good person, or they're not good enough and they're not the right person for me. Instead of like, well, what is it that let me take the time to let's learn each other's behavior. And I love that you shared that story. And the other thing is that we never learned to be in healthy relationships. We just learned what our parents knew, and then our parents learned what they knew. So we didn't know that it's okay to, like, if someone is sad, we will sit with them and be sad with them. Or a healthy relationship means communicating in a way that's heart to heart. I see how that landed for you. I see how when I said this and this tone, it triggered for you that little girl who always felt bullied, or whatever the case is. And being able to listen to you say, this is how I feel, and you being able to listen to me and say, you know what? I didn't know that that's how that was showing up for you, and I want to do it differently. Instead, I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Now she's mad at me and I'm at fault and I didn't do good enough. And we are missing that. Let's go beyond. Let's go deeper and see how we can really come out of this more in connection than the disconnection. And how many
Yeah.
friendships and relationships have we lost because we aren't able to receive? Because we're not able to receive because guilt and shame just sits right there, and resentment can sit there. Even if it's resentment, I feel like resentment is saying I'm not good enough, and so I'm going to show you that I'm good enough by punishing you. We don't know that's what we're doing, but that's what's sitting there. And no, no, we just weren't taught. And I think a lot of people, and I don't want to assume, but in my experience, I find that a lot of people don't like to go to those parts where shame is, because especially parents, when it comes to reparenting, I feel like there's a big misconception that that means I need to hate my parents. And if I need to hate my parents and look at what my parents did, then I have to look and see how I parented. And that is a wound that I don't want to touch. And that is hiding behind shame, and guilt is just eating away. And every day there's something that goes unspoken, it goes untouched, and we are just trying our best to be in relationship, but in silence we are suffering. We're not really being transparent and vulnerable. and getting through the hard. Because once emotional safety is there, we no longer hear those things as shame and blame. We no longer hear I feel responsible for how you feel. What I hear is here is how I can be a better friend to you. Here's how I could be a better partner. Here's how I could be a better sister or brother, daughter,
Yeah.
etc.
And
Yeah.
we need to be open. I mean, of course, this is not easy. We're saying this, but I think the first relationship we need to heal is the one with ourselves,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's only if I feel, I don't want to say heal, like I always say, we're all healing. We're not, none of us are healed. But if I'm at a space where I'm open to like looking at my own wounds and facing my own demons, I feel in some way I have the capacity to do that for someone else.
Yeah.
But I think it's when you can't do that for yourself and someone else comes there and they're trying to open up to you about the same stuff,
Yeah.
that's when you shut down. And because you can't face yourself, so how are you going to face someone else and sit
Mm-hmm.
with them in their mess when you can't sit with your own mess? But
Yeah.
I really liked what you said in the beginning when you said whenever you meet a person, and I think this is to deepen the connection, but you always ask them like what does it feel like for you when you're angry or when you're sad, or how do you feel when you're overwhelmed? Like what comes up? How do you react? Like I think certain things like that.
Yeah. What
And I
support?
think I think those questions are really good. And I'm gonna say because it reminds me of this, right? Like what you were saying earlier. Let's say I was upset, right? Now, if you know that when I'm upset, I like to have some time to myself before I can sit with you and talk about it, then you will not take that as an offense when I check out for a while,
Yeah.
right? And I won't be mad at you or upset when you keep, telling me, so what is it? Tell me, open up, like what's
Yeah.
going on? And I'm feeling pressured now, like this person's on me about it, and I just wanna. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of times if we can understand each other and when we talk about these things, so we know. So if you came to me and you know that when I'm upset, I need some time, and then I'll tell you what it's about. You give me the time and space, and when I come back to it, you're not gonna be upset that I checked out and I didn't like tell you what was going on. But if you didn't know that, you would obviously feel as a friend like, wow, why is she like, stonewalling me there? Like
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to get through her, and she's like, you go away, I don't need you, or whatever else comes up
Yeah.
for the person in the moment. But I think it's important to know how people, uh, like you said, want to receive love, and also how love should be given in
Mm.
certain situations. And I think the love languages is important for this,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if we can
Very.
talk about it. It's
Yeah.
important, right? Because maybe some people don't need you to like, I don't know, change the,
Acts of
let's just say it
service.
like, yeah, they don't do acts of service. They just want you to tell them that they're doing a good enough job and they're going to do a good job. And that's all they need. But maybe someone else might be like, hey, why couldn't you just help me with this task or
Yeah.
whatever? So, but then when you know what it is that the other person wants, it's a lot easier to give. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I want to believe that we all want to give people what they want. We
Yeah.
just don't know what we should give them or how we should give them. And a lot of us operate from what we think is
Yeah.
love. So for me, if it's acts of service, that's what I'm going to do for the next person. But not knowing that maybe theirs is words of affirmation or gift giving, and I'm going to do what I think is love for me. Then
Yeah.
they're not going to receive that as well as they would if I did what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to feel, like you said, underappreciated. The guilt and shame's going to crop up. They're
Yeah.
going to feel guilt and shame. So I
Yeah.
think it's all a cycle. So it's important, I think, to know your attachment style or at least have some awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And also like check in with your love languages and see how it is that you like to give and receive love.
Yeah.
I think I would say that for me was a good starting point for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's the way you would tell
Yeah.
everybody to start, but yeah, that was a good starting point for me at least.
That is exactly actually how I would start. I feel like the best friendships I've had are the people who have taken the love language test with me and have done the attachment style because we um when we don't receive the way we give,
Mhm.
we're blocking our connection. Our love languages teaches us how we receive love, and our attachment teaches us how we push it away. So we have this push and pull behavior, and we don't know that that's what we're doing, and we don't know that that's what we're doing to people that we love and care about. And instead, we end up, that's where the shame and the guilt comes in. We are riddled with it instead of having that connection. And it's like you said something like and there's this quote that I love about it. It says, "We can only meet people as deeply as we've met ourselves." So if we are people who like to explore internally. When shame comes up for me or guilt comes up for me, and I can recognize it, I'm immediately like, "Oh, hello. Let's find out more about you. I want to know." If guilt and shame comes up in you as a friend, I want to know because that is going to tell me when you're pulled away, not this you not pulled away, but if you're you need time. There was a time at the beginning of our friendship where I would like, are you okay, how can I do it differently, whatever the case is. But now it's like, oh, she just needs to take care of herself. I know when she's done, she's gonna come back to me and we're gonna find out what was happening. I don't need to take that as dismissive. And I think that's something that you've learned about me too. You and I could be on a call and we are good and we are in sync, and the minute I get off this call, I'm like doing 800 things. I haven't checked my phone and it's like, oh crap, I didn't reply to her. Or, like, to give that
Yeah.
reassurance that I know that you like. It's really about and even the love languages, it's not necessarily just the surface stuff. I don't just need a gift. I need to be thought about. That's what I'm looking for. My quality time. It's not just, oh, let's sit together and watch a movie or I'm on my phone, you're on your phone and we're next to each other. It's that deep, meaningful conversation, that connectedness that you see my heart, you know my heart, you know that I like to be to feel belonged. So whenever I come to India, and I'm just kidding about this. I'm expecting royalty treatment, right? This is my, and there's a reason why I use the word my in front of things. This is my friend. This is
Yeah.
my partner. This is my son. Like, the my makes a difference because to me, that you have significance in my life. I am significant in your life. I am valued. I feel belonged. So, but we
Mhm.
don't get to that because we often, the shame comes in. We don't recognize that it's shame and it just spirals from there. And our relationship can be a lot deeper and a lot more sacred by practicing these, just by learning. And it's not
Yeah.
on it's like it's just learning how we are as human beings. Like we're not broken, we're not, there's nothing there's nothing wrong with us essentially.
Yeah,
um
that's true.
yeah,
That's very true. But yeah, you're right. It took us time even for us, right? Like, I mean, yeah, we did start in a coaching relationship, but I think because of the work we did together, we did end up becoming friends. Because
yeah,
I think I'm a person who also likes to go deep and explore things. And like, if I think something's like, I like to use the word out of sync. So if I think something's out of sync, I want to, go deeper into it and explore it.
yeah.
And I know that's not something I can do with everyone because a
Mm.
lot of people, I mean, if when I've done that with some other people, they're always like, oh, you're taking things too seriously. Like, why do you need to be so intense? Like, why was it so? And after we worked together, I realized, I think those people were just not, I don't want to say not meant for me, but we weren't in alignment. I could have a surface level relationship with them, but it was never going to be anything deep because they don't share the same values that I share. Like if I want to go deep with something, they are not going to want to go deep with it. So it's not going to be a deep connection for me. And for me, that's important. I think that's also one of the reasons we flowed so well together
Yeah,
as friends. And I had to learn too about you because acts of service was a big thing for me. So I
yeah,
remember sometimes when you were like as friends, not in the coaching setting, but when you were going through stuff, and I was like, oh, like my way of showing love was to always like jump in and like give you a solution or fix it.
yeah.
And then I realized that's not what Lazina needs because access service is not hers. Like, and
Yeah,
then I would be like, oh, you know what? I need to encourage her because she can do it. You are capable of doing it. It's just that I don't know, in the moment I felt like I needed, I think growing up, I felt like that was my way of showing love and like rescuing some. the
Yeah.
situation. But I was like, no, no, she's able to do it. I just need to like, encourage her and give her the confidence. I think you work much. Whenever I did that, I could see that you received that so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I did the other one, you were always like, and not in a bad way, but that was not your way of
Receiving.
wanting it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like there was that resistance, and then I was feeling like, oh, I didn't, I did a bad job, like there's a
Yeah.
guilt coming.
Yeah.
So I think it does take work. You need time to really learn a person and learn all this stuff.
Yeah. And if I'm asking those questions too, it's because I want to get to know you. It's because I want to learn you. I want to know how you behave and I want to know how I can support. So let's say we're in an environment together where you're highly stressed out and you're fidgeting. I can easily walk over there and be like, "Hey, I understand this is hard. I see you. You're doing a good job." Just that acknowledgement of like I know what internally you're going through and I see that process. It's like being along the ride with you. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned too when in our relationship is I may not receive acts of service because it's not receiving is something it gave me a chance to look at what receiving means for me. But also what I saw was that was your way of loving me. That was your way of saying, I care about you and I don't know what to do, and I'm doing the best that I can, and this is the best way I know how to show you love. So
Yeah.
in the past, I would reject that. In the past, I would be like, this person's not speaking my language. I need my own tribe. I need my this and I need my that. And that can happen in relationships because we're like, oh, we're not on the same vibration. But essentially, we really are. We're just not speaking the same language, which is why I came up with the book. The relationship repair
Exactly.
language so that we can learn to be in relationship with each other. But yeah, so these are all being in relationship is very important. It's part of who we are. It is our core human being emotional need to be in community, to know that we're not alone, to thrive together, to co-create. We all want to do different things in life and it all involves other people. We're not trying to work hard so that we can go live on a mountain. We're trying to work hard or, so that we can be a collective, be the light and have the conversation that builds a future that changes generation. So
Mhm.
I like about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the book is really good. We're not gonna go into that in depth
Yeah.
because that's gonna be a whole other episode. But the book is really good. And
Yeah.
I think, I mean, when I read it, I really loved it. And when I took the quiz, like, yeah, there is a quiz, guys. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good book. And the quiz ties into the book, so you really know how to repair a relationship with someone, should you want to. Not saying that we need to go and repair every relationship, because not every relationship is worth repairing, if I can be so bold to
Yeah.
say that. Sometimes you're just not. And this isn't about being immature. I mean, like how
Yeah.
Lazina said earlier, I just want to find my tribe and my language. Like we're not
Yeah.
like trying to shun people, but
Yeah.
um I think there is something to be said for we want people to get to know us, but then you should also be open to getting to know others. I think very
Mm-hmm.
often you meet people and I always heard this thing, and like I tend to say I'm more introverted. So for me, it's easier to like talk to people and ask them questions and get to know them, right? Because there was a point when I didn't want the spotlight on me. So the best way to get it off me, because I didn't want to be seen, was to ask people about them. But I didn't realize that's what made people want to be, in connection with me because I'm so interested in
Yeah.
but I find that curiosity is missing in a lot of people. Like people like to talk about themselves, but they don't want to ask much about the other person, which is
Yeah.
really sad because how are you going to build connection? We can't build one-sided connection.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Yeah.
to care as much as the other person does. So like something I like to do is I like to say put in as much effort as the other person's giving. And maybe that's not for everyone, but that's definitely what I
Yeah.
go with now
Yeah.
because I know there are times when I've overgiven and then I've like regretted it. And yeah, that's a whole nother episode where we can talk about betraying ourselves for others.
Yeah.
But I just think it's important to let yourself be. seen and known to the right people, but also see and know them. Like, don't just
Yeah,
have one-sided
it's a
connection. That's what I'm trying to
two-way
say.
street. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing is in these this all sounds nice from the other side. It sounds okay, that's simple. I can recognize that. But there was a time when I didn't recognize it and I didn't know it, and what ended up happening was I was stuck on the person's behavior. Well, this is how you're behaving, and I wouldn't go beyond the behavior to see the root cause of it. And what I like to do is go to the root cause of it, because you are a human being, you are a person, you're valuable to me, and I want to take the effort to get to know you and, enjoy life with you and co-create, whatever that looks like. When we start looking at the behavior, well, this is what they're doing and this is what they always do, instead of what are you suffering with? How are you shaming yourself right now? What is guilt pulling at you? Being able to do that. And I like what you said about oh my gosh, I forgot what you said, but I love it. Being open to also learn about other people as much as you want to be
Yeah,
learning
being
about
curious about
yourself.
us, not just being a me party. Like you
Yeah,
gotta like I mean, I think that's the I mean, I didn't know this, but someone who read the book, what's that book? How to Make Friends and Win People. I've never read that book, but someone did tell me that um part of it is like really asking people questions about themselves. Like I would do it out of genuine curiosity. It
yes,
wasn't because
yeah,
I was trying to win friends. I didn't even know that that was a thing. I
yeah,
was just trying to get the attention of me and like find out more about them because I'm always
yeah,
curious about people. But today I share with people, but I still ask them a lot of questions because I really want to get to know someone in depth.
yeah,
So if a person is someone who you think is intriguing enough for you and you want to be in connection with them, definitely ask them questions. Like that's
yeah,
like a tip I'm like throwing out there. And this is
yeah,
for the extroverts too, okay? Please ask your
yes.
introverted friends questions. We like to be seen as well.
And I like to adopt them. So
Oh yeah,
I'm,
that's a joke, right? Like introverts are always like find an extrovert who adopt us and introduce us to all their
that would be me.
yeah, she adopted me.
Oh my gosh, I have so many adoptees um because of that. Yeah, I think genuinely being curious about people's experience, because for me it's a lot deeper than that. It's a whole journey. We grew up, I mean, science will tell you we grew up in environments our nervous system get locked up, and we have to unlearn a lot of those. And sometimes there's a moment where we didn't feel heard in life. And when we are talking to people, we want to feel heard so bad that we're present, but we're not present with how we are coming off. And to me, I look beyond that. I'm like, oh, this is somebody who needs to feel heard, and I'm here for it. I'm going to hear you. But if that person doesn't know that they're not feeling heard and they're speaking from that space, they're not going to be able to receive anything that I have to give, because it'll just be like a wall and there's no connection there. And then being able to have safety, to have that conversation, to say, I want to have a deeper connection with you and I want to talk to you in a way that you can understand. We may have to go to some places that you haven't touched yet, and that might be difficult, but I'm here for it. That it's not necessarily an easy conversation to have. It takes time to build. But I find that building it within myself first was the best step, because now I can hold space, I have capacity, and we can get through the hard, we can get through the tough. And even with shame and guilt can be a part of it, as long as we're observing it and not becoming it, and speaking our truth and showing up for each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And I can definitely attest to being felt, seen and heard by you because
Yeah.
like you were really good. I think that's yeah, I mean, yeah, I got into this because I wanted to work with you and see how I could improve my relationship with myself. But for me, it was actually the opposite because I needed to feel seen and heard by someone else first, which was you. And then you showed me how I can feel that myself. But it took like it took me a while because I think I was genuinely blown away when I met you and you I was like, wow, this person can actually hold space for me because I'm not used to that. I'm used to being the one who holds space for other
Yeah.
people. And I was like, wow, she genuinely wants to know. Like there was a part of me, like, even when I didn't know you that well,
Yeah.
I could see that there was a genuineness about you, like, and you were really curious and you weren't just and when I say ask questions, guys, I don't mean like we're trying to pry. We genuinely are curious. We're not like wanting to like hit gossip down after this. Like we genuinely
Hmm.
want to know you. So I could feel that from you. And then that's what made me open up because there was emotional safety there, right?
Hmm.
And then, of course, I'm not going to say it was all smooth sailing. We did have moments of disconnection, but you build trust as you go, and no relationships are without bumps in the road. So
Yeah.
I don't want people to get this false idea that there will always be emotional safety because we're humans and but down the line, something is bound to happen and there are going to be moments of disconnection. But I think the important thing is how do you come back and how do you connect? How do you reconnect and repair? That's what's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And is the person really worth that? Because you have to put in the work. It's not like I'm saying it and it sounds easy, but it's really hard work. It's not snap your fingers and get there. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Yes. Yeah. And I like to think that people are worth it, you know. And one of the things with free will comes in there. It's also up to each of us to want to be met in relationship. And if we can't meet in relationship, then that's a whole nother guilt and shame spiral that happens because why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't I could have done it differently. And I'm shaming myself. But building that relationship with myself has taught me that I trust me. I understand me. I understand what my shame and my blame and my guilt are, and I know how to communicate in a way that isn't going to is going to speak my truth without using blame language. However, the other person receives it though is not something that's within my control. And knowing that I don't have to overfunction in order to get to be in relationship with someone.
I couldn't have said that better myself. That's so
Well, on
great.
that note, Amanda, why don't you kick us off with our outro?
All right, that was so good. So I think on that note, we're gonna wrap up this episode, and we hope that we gave you a taste of what emotional languages that people speak, our attachment styles, love languages, and just share our experiences. And I hope it resonated with y'all. And if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And
Mhm.
join us here next week again for another episode of, I don't know what the topic's going to be, but we're going to be back for the
Yeah.
next episode. So till
Yes,
then, take care and know that you're not broken. You're
that's
just
right.
healing.
That's right. I love
Bye.
this so much.